reducing taxes in retirement. I love talking about just the tax part, okay? So let's talk about that really quick. Inside of the IRS tax code, there's actually only 3 different places that you can put your money, and I call them tax buckets. Our first tax bucket is our taxable tax bucket. So our top tax bracket here is about 20%. These are our capital gains. So if you take cash and you invest it in a stock and it grows, you're going to pay tax on the growth. So that's our taxable bucket. Now we've got second bucket. This is the tax deferred bucket. Top tax bracket here is about 37%. This would include 401ks, IRAs, Social Security, pensions, anything that's considered income when it comes to you. Now, this tax bucket is our highest taxed bucket. All right, so tax deferred. Now, our last tax bucket, this is my favorite tax bucket. This is our tax free. Here, trick question. How much do you think we're taxed in the tax free bucket? 0, right? It's free, right? Tax-free bucket. There's a lot of things inside of the tax-free bucket. A lot of people have heard about a Roth. Roth falls within the tax-free. We've got land conservation easements, municipal bonds, executive deferred comp. There's about 75 different tax-free vehicles that I implement inside of my clients' portfolios. Not all of them are meant for everyone, so we dive into that section of the tax code and we figure out, hey, these tax-free vehicles are going to be the best for this client, okay? So these are the 3 different places that we can put our money according to the IRS tax code. Now, looking at our tax buckets, there's only one tax bucket that is affected by the RMD, and that's our middle one, tax deferred. So if you have your money in the taxable bucket or you have your money in the tax-free bucket, you won't have to do an RMD. And unfortunately, 99% of people that walk through my office doors have the majority of their funds inside of the 401k. They're going to get Social Security and they might have a pension. So unfortunately, most people have their money inside of the tax deferred. So what we look to do is make a simple shift from tax deferred to tax free or from taxable to tax free. Get as much money inside of the tax free bucket as possible. Unfortunately, the tax-free bucket is usually the smallest bucket that we see inside of portfolios. So getting as much as we can into the tax-free is going to be crucial for people's retirements, because once we get funds there, we're going to get tax-free growth. So all that money inside there is going to compound on itself, compounding interest, and it's all going to be tax-free. And then when you go to pay yourself in retirement, you do a distribution, you're going to pay yourself tax-free. So at that point, your reportable income that's on paper is going to be reduced. So when you go to pay tax on the Social Security and the pension, it's going to be minimum next to nothing, okay? So getting as much into tax-free as possible is going to be super important. Now, currently, our government, they want to raise taxes. We've got the lowest all-time low tax brackets right now, but they're always talking about raising taxes. Inside of our taxable bucket, they've spoken to us and they've told us that they want to raise the tax bracket here from about 20 to over 40%. And the reasoning for that is because they want to tax the rich. But do our wealthy or rich, do they pay taxes? No, they don't. So they're only going after the ones that do pay the tax. And that's the majority. That's going to be the middle class. So even though they say they're going to tax the rich, they're actually coming after us. They want to take our hard-earned funds. And they're talking about taxing unrealized gains, which is the scary part. So even though you haven't even cashed out those positions, they want to tax you on the growth. Our tax deferred, we know that the tax law there is going to change in a 3-year period. By 2026, our current tax law is going to expire. It's got an expiration date on it. So in 2026, we know that this tax bracket is going to go from about 37 to over 40% once again. And those tax brackets that are inside are going to shrink. So as you make more money, whether you're working or pulling funds from your retirement accounts, you're going to get pushed into higher tax brackets every time you pull out a little bit extra. And by 2026, we know those tax brackets are going to change. So what we look to do is create a plan ahead of time. we've got a few years where we can take funds that are inside the tax deferred or taxable and get them into tax-free sooner rather than later, because taxes are only expected to go up. I know they're going to go up. So we come up with a comprehensive plan, complementary, of how much we should move from tax deferred to tax-free every year over a certain period of time, right? Pay the tax that we already owe and get it into tax-free, so now we can reap the benefits, the tax-free growth and the tax-free distributions.